Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing great. I have missed you guys so much. Sorry for the radio silence. Your girl's been adulting. I was moving house. I was settling down. But now I'm back and I'm so excited. So I'm bringing you 4 no-sew DIYs to try. I picked up these 2 men's t-shirts. Well, this is one of the t-shirts. I picked them up in a size medium. They're beautiful. They're red. They're men's t-shirts. So I just wanted to destroy them. So let's get into the first top. So now I'm just marking how long I want my top to be. I love me a good crop top. If you want it longer, just make it longer. I also outlined a V shape and marked the end of the V at the top. And for this measurement, I really didn't use it, but I didn't want you wondering what it was. So I marked under my boob as well. So now moving on to the table where all the magic happens, I'm just drawing a straight line across the bottom point. Try to make it as straight as possible. And then I'm just going to cut through it to divide my top into 2 ridiculously short tops. So taking away the bottom bit, I'm now going to work on the top bit, and I'm going to join and draw a V to meet the bottom point we just drew. And I'm going to say it, the V was really deep and she really exposed the girls. I'm not complaining, but in case you want a less exposing V, just make your V shorter. I also drew a straight line from the bottom of the V shape. I tried to even this out as much as possible, straighten the people who were crooked because I wanted people to listen to me. And I'm just going to cut through the lines I just drew. So I'm going to create a beautiful V-necked top. So just snip, 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 follow the lines. If yours are not straight, then baby girl, just pray before you do this because you need all the help you can get. Just like all the people defying this quarantine. Well, quarantine's technically over, but just because outside is open doesn't mean you be dumb, okay? Wear your masks, social distance, and just be a good citizen. Care for others, care for yourself. Anyway, what I just did is I snipped off the back as well. And now as you can see, we have a V-necked top. Now I'm just going to turn this inside out and I'm going to hem the entire cut edges just to make them seem neat and beautiful and professional. This is an extra step. I recommend doing it because it really does make your top look so much nicer. And to do this, you're just going to apply glue on the edge and then press it down using your fingers for a few seconds. So as you can see, I'm applying my glue and then pressing down the bit of fabric, technically just hemming all the raw edges so that they're beautiful and no one knows we can't sew because that's none of their business. So you're going to be here for a hot minute because you're going to be entangled with this glue. She's going to get to know you intimately and you will know her. You guys might get married after this. I'm just throwing it into the ring. We can't disregard that, but just focus on making this as neat as possible. When the glue dries, it will dry clear, so don't worry about it getting messy. And at points that are bulky, just place a heavy object. I use my scissors to just help it dry down and beautifully. So you will be here for a while. I did this for over 2 hours. Honestly, just getting it right. It's not hard to do. It's just very time consuming and you have to be really careful. But I promise you it's going to be so worth it when you wear this top and look fabulous. So I just did this throughout the entire top edge. And as you can see, I've just been gluing down the edge and pushing it down, letting it sit for a minute and then releasing her to be free in the wild. So once that was all done, there it is. It's beautiful. It hasn't dried yet. So I'm going to repeat the same exact process along the bottom edge just to make sure everyone's on the same page. We don't show up at the altar and no one wants to marry us. So we need to be in the same line. So once the bottom bit is done, you're going to leave this to dry for at least 2 hours so that the glue has time to settle in and you don't interrupt her life. So now we're going to work on the bottom bit of the t-shirt and I'm just marking 2 centimeter strips and these are going to be my casing bits. So I just drew 2 centimeters all through and then I joined the points using my ruler so that I'd have a straight guide to follow as I was cutting. As you know, if you've been here a while, I really can't cut in a straight line. I don't know what kind of drugs I take before cutting, but it just never happens for me. I have to have a guideline. And I did this twice so that I'd have 2 strips because we need 2 casings. And once they were drawn out, I'm just going to use my scissors and cut them out. They're now ready to move on to the next chapter. It's time to be free and beautiful. And these casings are going to live the best life they could possibly live. once I took them to their new place. With the 2 strips of fabric, I'm going to split them open along the sides, and I'm going to open her up, both of them. I'm not excluding anyone. So I'm opening both of them up, and these strips were long. They were beautifully long, and I was here for it. So now I'm just marking the length from under the armpit to the bottom of the top. Mine was 5 inches, and I used this measurement all through just to make the guideline for my first casing. So I'm marking 5 inches from the bottom, and I'm doing this all throughout the entire length of the t-shirt. I thought it was perfect to have the first casing under the armpit, and then we're going to figure out the next one. So all I did is I marked out 5 inches from the bottom, and for the bottom casing, she was going to be 2 inches away from the bottom. All these dotted lines we're making, by the way, are on the inside of the shirt. Do not do this on the outside, otherwise it will look funny, unless that's a design you're going for. In that case, I encourage you to be as creative as you possibly want to be. So I marked out the 2 inches all throughout the entire length, and as you can see, we have 2 dotted lines to follow, and now we're going to glue our casings along those lines. They're just guidelines to make gluing easier. You'll see it makes the process so much easier. So now I'm just putting some glue onto the dotted line and applying one side of the casing onto that line. I turned this upside down so that it would be easier for you to see and for me to do this. So all I'm doing is I'm pushing down that edge with fabric glue on it so that she sticks in place and she's committed, she's loyal, she's a good friend. We don't need fake friends in 2020. So you're just doing this all throughout the entire top edge of your strip. Just apply glue on her and then push her down. Make sure she's happy. You don't want her to disrespect you and come undone. And I promise you this process is super easy, just very time consuming, and you're going to come out a new person out of this because you will have a lot of time to reflect on all your mistakes and regret all the points you should have used in an argument 10 years ago. You will come out of this a changed person. So this is time consuming, but it's super easy to do. So I turn this again for it to be easier for me, and I'm going to repeat the same thing on the bottom edge of that strip. So you can see me putting some glue along the bottom edge, and once I'm satisfied with that, I'm just pushing down the fabric. That way I can stick the other side down and she's staying with me whether she likes it or not. So doing this side is much easier than doing the top side because now you have the fabric to just push down. So you can apply as much glue as you want and just push down the strip. And if you can imagine it, we're leaving a gap between the 2 glued sides, and this is where your string will go through and it will whoosh up your top. So we're creating kind of a home and a passage for her to feel safe, and the string will come and be one of us and be happy with us because we are loving and incredibly accepting. So we're just going to do this throughout the entire bottom edge, and as I said, you're going to be here for a minute. So if you had a date planned, 1, you shouldn't be going because it's quarantine, and 2, I'm keeping you here because you will have fabric glue in crevices you did not know existed after this DIY. So I just pushed down the entire bit, and once I was satisfied, I'm going to snip off the excess bit of fabric. And now your first casing is done. It's time to repeat this process again and make your second casing. So just going to follow the dotted line and glue your casing above the dotted line. That way you have a bit of a flare at the bottom of your top. So I did this process off camera because it's exactly the same as the first strip. And once it's done, you're going to leave it to dry for 2 hours. And as it dries, we're going to make our string bits. So I cut out 2 3cm wide strips, and I'm just opening them up along the sides and getting rid of the bulky side seam. You're going to do this for both of them because they need to feel like you're treating them equally. You're not discriminating. You're accepting of everyone. So do unto others as you want to be done to you, okay? So now I'm just laying them out flat. They need to confess all their mistakes because they're about to become new strings. So taking one of the strips, I'm going to turn this the right way up, and we're about to make a beautiful string. So this process is going to be super time consuming, but I promise you it'll be so worth it. Just like that cheeseburger you've been saving to have after your workout and you end up not working out and still having the cheeseburger anyway. This is kind of like that. So all I'm doing is I'm gluing along one edge. Remember, the right side is being locked inside, and you're just going to join the 2 sides together, and this will create a strip strip of fabric that's closed, and once you turn it the right way out, it's going to be a string. You'll see the magic happen, just bear with me for now. So I'm just gluing down one edge and pinning the two sides together to create my string. I was covered in fabric glue at this point. I was breathing fabric glue. I was hallucinating. It's probably not safe for you to do this, but I was committed to the cause and I was going to finish this DIY. So I'm just gluing down one side and pushing the two sides together. They have to love each other. They have to agree with each other because they have to live with each other despite the color of their skin. They're both red and they just have to accept that they're meant to coexist beautifully and peacefully. So now once that's done, I have a strip of fabric that looks a bit weird. Just bear with me. It's about to glow up just like you did from your high school. We've all seen the pictures. They were not that great. So now you're going to do this with the other strip as well and leave both of them to dry for at least 2 hours. And now you have two strips of fabric that are ready to blossom into beautiful butterflies of strings. And to help them in their journey, I'm going to use this handy dandy tool called a loop turner, aka my husband. He changed my life and I'm so grateful for the loop turner. It just basically helps you turn thin strings the right way out. You can use a hairpin, but it's going to be more difficult. Invest in a loop turner. It only costs $1. I will link this one down below. So you're just going to push it through your string and then hook a bit of a fabric on the other end, as you can see. And now you're just going to push this within itself to turn the strap the right way out. So this doesn't take any time at all. It's super easy to do because you're basically just finessing and rolling this around. When you get to the seam bit, it does trouble you a bit, but what's life without a bit of a challenge, right? So when the string comes out the other end fresh, you're going to get rid of the loop turner and just grab it with your hand and really pull on her. Put her under pressure. She's about to come into the world of 2020, which is a mess, if I do say so myself, so she needs to be ready. So you're going to repeat the process with the second string, and once that's done, you have two strings that are ready to be strung and led on. So I'm going to snip off the ends just because they were a bit bulky and I just didn't like how they looked. They needed a haircut. So I cut off a bit of the excess at the ends, and once I had my two strings, they're now ready to string through our top. So we're going to use a safety pin for this. You can use a hairpin. It's all a matter of what you have on hand. So we're going to thread the second casing because I've already done the first one off camera. So I'm just pinning one side to my safety pin and then pushing it through that casing bit. Super easy to do. Just make sure your casing bits have been drying for a while. You don't want to do this and they come undone and you have to repeat the entire process because your life is a joke and you never listen to anything. So just don't be that person. Let the glue dry first before this process and it will make your life so much easier. So I just strung my string through. Wow, a tongue twister in the building. And once the safety pin came out the other end, I just really pulled on the string. I got rid of the safety pin. Her job here was done. She could move on to the next husband. And now I'm just going to ruche the string and really spread it out. I wanted to make sure the strings were even on both sides. That way when you tie everything, it looks nice and neat. So I'm really pulling on the strings, making sure they're equal on both sides. And I repeated this on both sides because you want both sides to look nice and neat. You need to do both sides. You just can't leave one side to fend for itself. You have to take care of both of them. And once they're done, you're now going to tie pretty bows on your top just to have her looking cute, put her best foot forward. So I'm not the best at tying bows, but I did my best. I am trying, okay? So just appreciate that. And once I had both my bows, my top was now ready, and you're going to leave her for 24 hours so that the glue really dries. And once the 24 hours are up, there is your top looking beautiful and fabulous. And can you believe no sewing was done for this top whatsoever? I am here for the cleavage. I am here for the ruching. I am here for the flared bit at the bottom. I am so here for this top, and I'm really impressed that no sewing was done. I promise you you, this is so easy and you can do it yourself. So don't get lazy, just get into it and you will have a beautiful top. So let me help you make the second one because we're about to make a whole new wardrobe in this video. So taking the bottom bit we have left, I'm just going to cut out a 3 cm wide strip of fabric. This is going to be the string for my second top. So I will say it right now, the second top is a bit of a risque. She's a bit of a risky situation. She's the kind of top you wear to a date that you're hoping to get lucky for afterwards. So don't come for me. You have to be comfortable in your own skin and love what you wear. So if this top is not for you, it's completely okay, okay? Are we on the same page? Great. So now I just opened up that strip of fabric I'd cut out, and as you can see, she is gorgeous, and we're going to do the same exact thing we did for the strings for the first top. So all I'm doing with this string the right way up is I'm gluing down one edge, and then I'm going to press the two edges together to close the string up and create a beautiful string that we will turn the right way out as well. So this process of gluing down fabric is honestly very time consuming. I will say it takes a lot more time than sewing, but it's so rewarding, especially if you can't sew. It's so easy to do. So if you can't sew, just start with projects like this, and I promise you it will build your confidence and you can sew after a while. So I was working on this string for a hot minute. I got a sandwich afterwards, and then I had my string beautiful. I left her to dry for 2 hours so that she could show up ready to the party. And once the 2 hours are done, I used my loop turner, turned her the right way out, and we had a beautiful string that we were going to use in our top. So now to make the top itself so that the string has a home, I'm taking the bottom bit of fabric that was left from our t-shirt. I'm now measuring the length of my fabric. It was 20.5 inches. I then marked the midpoint of that, which was 10.25 inches. Yes, I'm a mathematician by night. How could you tell? I then drew a straight line through that midpoint just to split my top in half. And honestly, I could have done this along the side seam. I just wasn't thinking, but you can do it along the side seam. So this top was still a little bit too big. So I decided to take away 3.5 inches on both sides just to make sure the fit was really snug and she was holding the breasticles in place and not flopping about and exposing my business to the entire internet and the world. So I drew a straight line through the points on each side. Remember, I'm taking away 3.5 inches from either side. You can try the top on and see how much you need to take away, adapt it to your body, and do what feels right for you. So I cut off the excess bits of fabric on both sides. I'm still going to take away more fabric later on, but for now, let's focus on the top. So now I'm just going to hem the top bit just to make it nice and neat, and it's the same exact way we did the first top. So as you can see, I did this off camera and she was glued down and ready to commit. I also got rid of the tag because she was getting in my way and disrespecting me, and I did not need that kind of energy. So I'm measuring 4 inches from the side right now, and this is going to be a guide for gluing down the sides. We need to make a casing for our string to go through. So through the dotted lines, I just applied my fabric glue, and now I'm just going to flip this around to make it easier for you to see. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the fabric and lay it down on the glue, and this will create a casing for our string, which will create that beautiful ruched effect around our cleavage area. So I just push down on the fabric, let it sit for a hot minute, and you're going to do this on both sides. And once both sides are done, you're going to leave that to dry for 2 hours before you can rustle her up so that she does her job right. So now all I'm doing is I'm measuring 6 inches from the side seams. I decided I needed to take away a bit more fabric after trying the top on. The top was a bit snug after this, but I like the top. Just don't take away as much fabric if you want it a bit looser. So I drew a straight line through the 6-inch points, and then now I'm just cutting off the excess bit of fabric. This is going to really take the top in and make it look nice and tight. So once a piece of fabric is gone, she's left the door, she's divorced now, I'm going to rejoin the 2 pieces of fabric, and I'm putting them the right sides together, and I'm just going to glue them along the sides, right sides together. That way when they dry, they're nice seamless and beautiful, and they've come together to make one top. So this is super easy to do. Glue down one edge and place the other fabric on top of it. Remember, I say it again, the right sides are together, they are the same, they like each other, and they decided they both wanted this. So I just glued along the edge all the way to the very top. I pushed both fabrics together, and once that was done, I left them to dry and enjoy their relationship for 2 hours. And once the 2 hours were up, my top was nice and dry and beautiful. So this is what that ended up looking like. I had 3 seams, which turned out to be fine because the top fit perfectly. And I'm going to take the string we made earlier. I'm going to hook a safety pin onto one end, and we're going to thread this through our casing. So the top, as you can see, is the wrong way up, and I'm threading this from the left side. I'm really pushing the string through, and when the safety pin comes out that edge, I really pulled the string, and I'm going to loop it through on the other side so that we have a loop around our chest area, and it creates that beautiful hole at the front. That sounds so wrong, but you know what I mean. So I really pulled the string through both casings, and I'm just really tugging on this string. So the idea is to get this string to be as even as possible, and you need her to ruche up the fabric and be beautiful. So take your time with this and really pull on the string, and this is why you need to wait for the glue to dry. If you're going to put her under pressure, she needs to be ready for the relationship. She needs to be ready for the pressure. So once you really ruche the string, really push the string through, and once you're happy with how she looks, the top is now ready to wear. So to wear the top, you're just going to cross the front, and then you're going to tie a knot behind your neck. So it's kind of like a halter top situation. I did not think I'd be wearing a halter top anytime soon, but they're back in trend. And obviously you're going to let this dry for 24 hours before wearing her because the glue needs to set. And once the 24 hours are done, you have your second fabulous top. As I said, this is the kind of top that will get you a sugar daddy. This is not the top you wear to a family gathering, and actually you can wear this as a bikini top. Just be creative, and if you love it, I encourage you to make it. So now it's time to move on to the last 2 DIYs, and I'm going to use this t-shirt for them. So this is also a men's t-shirt in the size medium, and you're going to make 2 fabulous tops from this. So getting right into that, I'm just marking how long I wanted my first top to be. This feels like deja vu because it's exactly the same thing we did for the first top. I also outlined like a circle kind of and marked the point I wanted my circle to be. This will make sense once we start cutting. So then take your favorite plate. You might break it in this process. I do not want to be held accountable for how many plates you break during this. And then I flipped my shirt upside down, and as you can see, I've been trying this a few times. So I took my plate, and you're going to use it to create kind of a circular effect at the very top. I just think it looks so nice and beautiful, and it's so feminine. You can cut whatever shape you feel like, baby girl. I decided a circle was the way to go. So once my circle was outlined, I'm obviously going to cut through the circle bit, and I definitely took my time with this, mostly because I wanted this to be super neat and beautiful, and I did not want people to realize that I'm slowly going insane from all the fabric glue that's been going into my brain because of all the DIYs. So once I cut off the bit of fabric, I cut off the excess bit, got rid of her, and I'm just going to turn this again, and I'm going to take my plate again, and this time I'm going to make the circle at the back a bit higher. You don't want the back to be really low unless you want them the same. It's totally up to you. I decided I wanted the back to be a bit higher. So once my circle was outlined, I just cut through it, and after this was done, I had my beautiful circular shaped top that I was going to be so proud to wear. And yeah, this was a labor of love, and I love it. So now we're just going to crop our t-shirt. So I'm drawing a line through the bottom bit point, and we want this to be as straight as possible so that when we cut, everything looks nice and even. So I cut through that line, took my sweet time, and once I was done cutting, I got rid of the bottom bit. I sold it to some person online. Now I'm just going to mark the midpoint, 10¼ inches on my top, and I'm going to draw a straight line through that midpoint, and then I'm going to cut through that straight line. Make sure you're only cutting through the top bit of fabric. You don't want to end up with 2 pieces edges of tops. It's not going to make sense. So now we're just going to do the same thing we've been doing. We're going to hem all the raw edges. Make sure your top is inside out. I did this off camera because it's the same exact thing we did with the first top. So as you can see, all the edges are nice and hemmed. You can still see the glue peeking, and I'm going to leave this to dry for 2 hours so that the glue can dry a bit and I can work with her and she's ready to accept me. So now we're going to work with the bottom bit and make strings. I cut out 2 strips, each 3 centimeters wide. I'm going to split them open, and there they are in all their glory. They're ready to be whatever I want them to be, in this case strings. So I'm going to turn one string the right way up. You're going to repeat this with both strings, okay? But I'm only showing you one because the process is exactly the same. So we're just gluing down one edge and pressing the 2 edges together, and this is going to create a beautiful string as you've seen in the previous tops. So really push down both edges together, and once you are done with this and your hands are covered in fabric glue, you're going to repeat this with the second one, and once that's done, leave both of them to dry for 2 hours, and once they're dry, they're ready for action. So again, use your loop turner, turn them the right way out, and then you're going to snip off the ends because they're ugly and unwanted and nobody loves them just like me. So now I'm going to take one string and split it into half. I needed to have 4 strings for this top, so I split each string into 2 bits. So I had 4 bits in total, as you can see, and these are going to be the ties of our beautiful tied top. So moving on to the attaching process, they have attachment issues and they need someone to cling to. So on my top, I'm going to mark 3.5 inches from the very top, and this is going to be where we're going to place a second string. So I just placed a dollop of glue at the very top, and at that point we marked out, and once the glue was applied, I made sure to put a lot of it because I have trust issues and I need a lot of commitment. So I'm going to glue down both strips. I'm just pressing them down along the dollops of glue, and once that's done, your strings are attached. They can have their commitment issues now. So you're going to repeat this on the other side as well. Just glue both strings, and the bottom one is going to be 3.5 inches away from the top one. Really press down on that glue, and then you're going to leave this to dry for at least 2 hours. That way you can finesse this and tie the ties, and once you've tied your ties, you leave this to dry for 24 hours, baby girl. You are ready to wear this to the party with your mask, okay? Because we're social distancing, we're staying home as much as possible. You can wear this to your Zoom meetings because, hey, physical contact is overrated anyway. So I really love this tie top. I'm so into this trend. I've made a tie cardigan, I made a tie everything, and I really love how this top turned out. And now it's time for the grand finale. We're about to make the last top. I saved the easiest for last. So on the remaining bits of fabric, I marked out 1 inch of strip. It was 1 inch wide, and I'm going to use this as my straps. So I cut that out, and then I'm splitting it along the side seam, just like we've been doing with all the other strings for the previous top. And for this one, I cut both sides because I wanted 2 separate straps. So for this one, we're not going to really get technical. We're just going to lay this 2 pieces flat, and we're going to really pull on them. This allows the string to roll up and form beautiful straps, and therefore saves us the cumbersome process of making thin straps by just folding the fabric in and gluing it together. So once I'd done this to both pieces, I had 2 beautiful straps, and these are going to go onto our top later on. So I'm going to use this green top as a template just to get the right fit. I made this green top as well. I will link it down below in case you want to make a strappy top that's reversible. So I'm just outlining the shape to make sure I get a top that's going to fit me really snug. She needs to hug me in all the right places because I do not get hugged enough in real life, and I need clothing to do that for me because I am alone and I am dying of loneliness. Anyway, once I had outlined my shape, I cut through it, and this is where I played myself. I thought I could just eyeball this and have my top looking good. I traced my top unevenly, and as you can see, she ended up looking like a misshapen potato. So it worked, but I advise that you fold your top in half and just make sure everything is nice and even. So now all I'm doing is I'm gluing the right sides of the tops together together of the tops. Wow. I'm gluing the right sides of the top together just to make sure I close her up, and that way she goes around my body and she forms a beautiful top. So I did this on both sides because obviously you want this to be glued down on both sides, and then you're going to leave it to dry for a while, and we're going to let this dry, and once it's dried we're going to hem the top just like we did for the other tops. And once the top is beautifully hemmed, we're now going to attach our straps. So I divided my strap into 2 bits because they were too long. I just measured around my shoulders and then I cut the length I needed. And once I had my straps, I'm now going to mark the side seam, measure 2.5 inches from each side seam, and this is going to be where I place my strap. This is where I found most convenient. You can take it a bit further or you can bring it closer. It's all up to you. So I did this on both sides, that way everything would seem nice and even. And even though my top was uneven, she ended up looking fine, so at least it all worked out. It's just that she looked like a potato in the process of making her. So once all my 4 points are marked out, I'm just going to put some glue on all the points, and I started with one side. Once my glue was placed, I just placed my strap on top of that, really pushed her down so that she could cling onto the glue and make a baby if she wanted to. So I was just giving her room to be free. I did this for both straps, and then I turned this to the other side and did the same exact thing. Put a bit of glue and then pushed down the strap. That way she would stay in there and be beautiful and just serve the purpose of staying on my shoulders. So I did this for both bits. I really pushed them down, and you're obviously going to leave this for 24 hours. And once they're up, your top is ready for wear, and she is looking fabulous if I do say so myself. So this was the easiest top to make from all the 4 tops, and honestly I love it so much. I did fold in the bottom bit because it was a bit longer than I wanted, and the hoe in me just couldn't resist to show some tummy. So I really love this top, and the fact that there was no sewing whatsoever is the icing on the cake for me. So that is it from me today. I know this video was very long, but now you have 4 new DIYs to add to your wardrobe. I really hope you do try one of them. Just pick one and go with it and see what happens. I promise you, when it turns out great, it's going to encourage you to try a lot more, and you will soon have a closet full of whole clothes that you can wear once everything is safe outside. So anyway guys, thank you for sticking with me. If you got to this point, I love you so much. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for watching. Let me know which top was your favorite. And now I'm just going to go get a glass of water because that voiceover has taken the life that was left in me out of me. So I just need to go replenish. So thank you guys for all the support, and I hopefully will see you soon. Remember to stay safe, social distance, wear your mask, and just stay home if you can. See you guys soon. Bye.